What if I told you that Bitcoin might actually be the biggest financial scam of our time?
All right, that's the everything money guy who knows nothing about money. If you're just tuning into this video is actually part 2 of the takedown of him. So go watch part 1. It's right here, and the link's in the description. Part 1, I went deep into the misunderstandings about he doesn't understand what money is, and that's the fundamental reason why he gets everything wrong about Bitcoin. But now the double standards get worse, the gaslighting gets worse, and in this part 2, I'll explain why. Ironically, the system that he's defending is actually the scam compared to the Bitcoin system that he thinks is a scam. So go ahead, watch part 1, come back, and then enjoy part 2.
Let's look at some of the problems with this early adaptation of Bitcoin. In 2022, FTX raised over $1.8 billion from investors, promising safety and transparency. Behind the scenes, founder Sam Bankman-Fried.
So I don't know what we're doing now. Every time I do one of these takedowns, which I've done many of them, watch them. The number one problem that these guys do is they conflate Bitcoin and crypto. Yes, they're right. Crypto's a scam. It's full of frauds and scammers. And every criticism that they lob at Bitcoin is true of crypto. Crypto has no value. Crypto probably will go to zero. Bitcoin, as I've explained already, is different. So A, if you conflate the two, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. Separate the two, and then we can have a real argument. And B, is going to say somehow Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX being a fraud is somehow a reflection of on Bitcoin? Like, that makes no sense. If that were true, then Bernie Madoff running a Ponzi scheme for like 30 years means the dollar is a fraud and the dollar should not be used anymore.
Funneled customer funds to his trading firm, Alameda Research. The result? A bankruptcy that temporarily wiped out billions in customer funds, according to the SEC. Now, they were all made whole at some point, but it took a long time, and it took a rebound of Bitcoin's prices for that to happen. In 2023, Binance and its CEO, CZ,
he's done so much homework that he doesn't know how to pronounce Binance. That's all you need to know in this video, by the way, about how much homework he's done on the topic.
Pled guilty to federal charges of money laundering and failing to register as a money transmitter. Guys, if it's supposed to be under the radar and away from government control, why are these things happen? The department...
Those are just centralized exchanges. They're just companies. That has nothing to do with Bitcoin or why Bitcoin can't be controlled by governments. It's literally a total non sequitur. It has nothing to do with it. But by the way, I'm going to go on a tiny tangent about something else, which is the crypto industry is actually more healthy than the regular fiat banking industry because the crypto industry has no lender of last resort. And the crypto industry, these companies do fail. Companies like FTX go down and they fail and the frauds are uncovered and they don't get bailed out by the government and the central bank stepping in to paper over the fraud with printing money, which means socializing the losses and making every holder of the currency pay for bailing out the banks. Like, oh, what happened in 2008 when the frauds and scams that were happening in the regular existing banking system would have come crashing down if there weren't a lender of last resort, the Fed, to step in and buy all the toxic debt and teach the bankers and the market that there are no consequences for that behavior. And all they learned is, oh, next time we just need to do it on a bigger, larger scale, because if we make ourselves big enough, too big to fail, then we can take down the whole economy. If our frauds are uncovered, then the government will always step in to bail us out. And the government stepping in to bail us out means printing money, which means socializing the losses. Every saver and wage earner in dollars pays for that bailout in terms of inflation and the devaluation of the purchasing power of your dollar. And yes, the crypto industry absolutely is the wild, wild west. But every time this happens and those frauds are uncovered and those companies fail, the crypto industry gets healthier as a whole. And the companies that are built up out of the rubble have to be stronger and more stable. And we will continue to see more robust, stronger companies get built up because they will learn the lessons and they won't repeat the same mistakes as of the past. And the consumers won't repeat the same mistakes of the past by trusting those fraudsters. Yeah, that's not going to happen overnight either, because as we see, like the meme coin craze. But again, meme coins will scam and defraud so many people that eventually the market for that will run dry and meme coins will die. So there is a healthy amount of creative destruction going on in the crypto industry that makes the industry and the companies more robust and stronger in the long term. So that's just a tangent about why we can bring up FTX is not the own he thinks it is. Quick pause just to say that if you're liking this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment and tell me either why I'm right or leave some cope in the comments and tell me why you think I'm wrong.
Department of Justice's $4 billion penalty marked one of the largest in U.S. history. And remember, guys, this led to everyone requesting that the government regulate crypto, which absolutely melted my brain. Crypto was created to avoid all the government scrutiny, all these things to avoid government interaction. And then the crypto people said, please come save us. Guys, this is proof that the world of crypto is running around with their heads cut off.
Again, conflating Bitcoin and crypto. So I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know anybody who's like, oh, please come regulate us. What people wanted was for the government to just come out and take a clear stance on the crypto industry because the government was waffling back and forth. And the government on one hand was attacking crypto. Of course, companies that wanted to build up in the space needed clarity around government regulation because they needed to know what was legal and what they were going to get prosecuted for or shut down for. And you had like an under the radar debanking mission going on, trying to debank crypto companies and attack them under the radar. Yes, the crypto industry wanted more clear regulation. It wouldn't just be like surreptitiously debanked by some agency at the behest of Elizabeth Warren. They need to know whether or not they're going to be able to get a bank or operate legally within the country. So yeah, they wanted clarity around that. Oh, so sue them. But again, conflating Bitcoin and crypto, because I don't know any Bitcoiners are like, oh, I want the government to come regulate Bitcoin. He's talking about companies built up in the ecosystem of crypto and Bitcoin. And yeah, of course, those companies want to know how they can legally operate within the framework of the jurisdiction that they reside in.
Just like artwork. But at least with artwork, I cannot go create another Van Gogh. And you might sit there and say, well, there's only 21 million Bitcoins allowed. Okay. But guys, it's coding. At some point, if they need to make more crypto, they'll figure out a way, more Bitcoin. And if they don't, they're going to create more and more cryptocurrencies.
First of all, Van Gogh's. Why does the art become more valuable when the artist dies? Scarcity, because you know that he's not going to create any more. So yeah, why do we talk about the 21 million supply cap of Bitcoin all the time? Because that programmatic scarcity cannot be changed. Yes, you can create other cryptocurrencies. There's like 36 million of them now. What has that done to the value of Bitcoin? Nothing. The market cap of Bitcoin is still more valuable than all the other cryptos combined. All. So other cryptos existing has nothing to do with the scarcity of Bitcoin. So again, do some homework to understand what you're talking about. And they'll always say, oh, the 21 million supply cap doesn't matter. Oh, and even if it did matter, when they want to change it, they could just change it because it's code. Strangely enough, I think Satoshi might have actually thought about that and made it so that, oh, down the road, if somebody wants to change the supply, they can't. Yeah, he thinks that everything that's digital, that's just a line of code, can be changed because that is the truth up until Bitcoin. Bitcoin invented digital scarcity. It is the first existence of true digital scarcity. That's verifiable. That cannot be changed. That's why we think it's interesting. So to just say that that's not true just shows you haven't done your homework. Can you hard fork Bitcoin? Copy the code and make your own version of Bitcoin that changes the total overall supply? Yes, you can. It's been done. Guess what happens to those forks? They go to zero against Bitcoin because that's the point. If you hard fork Bitcoin, you copy it. Guess what? I, as a Bitcoin holder, now still hold Bitcoin, and I now hold your hard fork of Bitcoin. Guess what people do in that case? They sell your new coin for Bitcoin. If it were that easy to change it, why hasn't someone already done it? Seems like that would be a pretty lucrative endeavor. Oh wait, people have tried. It doesn't work.
Now, Bitcoin's decentralized nature is often celebrated as a technological breakthrough, but it's also made crypto a prime tool for criminal activity. Between 2017 and 2021, Binance, the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange, processed over $2 billion in transactions linked to illicit activities, including drug sales, investment frauds, and cyber attacks.
They're always going to do this. There's scams and fraud and criminal activity. First of all, the internet drastically increased the proliferation of frauds and scams. So you don't hear anybody saying, oh, the internet is bad just because it allowed for more fraud and more scamming and more money laundering. And second of all, fraud and scams and money laundering were around long before Bitcoin. Guess what most people use to do it? It's called the US dollar. Oh, that's weird. It's estimated that 1/3 of all US currency in circulation is unaccounted for, likely used by criminals or tax evaders. The UN Office on Drugs and Crime estimates that between 800 billion and 2 trillion is laundered globally in 1 year. Based on the recent data from 2024, 0.4% of all crypto transactions are associated with illicit activities. So this is just classic FUD bullshit. Just throw against the wall and see what sticks. As he's just speed running every piece of FUD and every headline he's ever seen that's anti-Bitcoin, he's just going through every single one. Hasn't bothered to dive into any of them to see whether they're even true or whether they make any sense.
Bitcoin ATMs have emerged as a new tool for scammers.
Bitcoin ATMs, give me a break. Wait, that's weird. JP Morgan Chase has paid almost $40 billion in fines for banking securities and additional violations, including $290 million to settle a lawsuit related to facilitating Jeffrey Epstein's activities. Is he going to do a video on that? No, because he doesn't actually care. This is just BS throwing FUD against the wall.
Now, guys, you're going to sit there going, Paul, everybody has scams. Cash has scams. You're right. But there's this new cryptocurrency, this new way of giving money. Do you think the government's going to allow that to happen in even more common fashion? Look at cash, for example. If you go to a bank and you open an account And in any given year, you deposit or withdraw in excess of 10,000, you have to sign for it. You have to make a report to the IRS about this. That's how the government watches you. So you think they're just going to let you do whatever you want with crypto without any regulation whatsoever? You're out of your mind.
First of all, is that an argument for why Bitcoin won't continue to go up in value? No, of course not. Second of all, that's the reason we need Bitcoin. You think it's a good thing that the government wants to monitor every transaction that's over $10,000, which, by the way, they instituted that $10,000 decades ago, and they haven't raised it after inflation. So decades ago when they started that 10,000 was equivalent to like, I don't know, 75 or 100,000. So it's like, oh, that's just a big transaction. Nobody will ever need to do transactions that big. We'll just watch the really big ones. Well, slowly over time, due to inflation, that $10,000 transaction that the government monitors is actually a lot more common and a lot less than it used to be. And they don't change that amount based on inflation. What happens when that inflation keeps going and that $10,000 amount is something that people are using every day? Oh, guess you got to report every transaction. It's almost like it'd be a good thing to have a money that's outside government control, that's harder for them to surveil and censor. Or you could be a fiat maxi status and want the government fingerprints all over all your transactions and watch everything you're doing.
The government does not want competition. Almost every crypto company has been implicated in some sort of fraud.
By the way, when this got out 3 months ago, 3 months later, executive order establishing a strategic Bitcoin reserve. So the government clearly is not banning Bitcoin. And by the way, the arrogance to only view it through the lens of the US government. So even if the US government banned Bitcoin, that doesn't ban Bitcoin globally. Every other government would have to ban Bitcoin at the same time. And the US government banning Bitcoin actually would create a tremendous incentive for all other countries to not ban Bitcoin. So the game theory would play out such that other countries would want to attract Bitcoiners and Bitcoin investment. And they would say, oh, come here. We don't have taxes on Bitcoin. Like right now, somewhere like Dubai, it's like, oh, there's no taxes. So there's like more and more industry building up over there. That's how this stuff works.
Fraud or some sort of SEC investigation, nearly all of them. In addition, when you see assets being promoted by celebrities, is that really an investment? How often you see companies out there making commercials for Berkshire Hathaway? How often you see Microsoft and those guys making commercials for buy our stock? But celebrities like Matt Damon, Tom Brady, Kim Kardashian have all pushed Bitcoin.
It's not even worth refuting this stupid point. Private companies hire celebrities to endorse their products. That's not new to crypto. So a private centralized exchange like FTX or whatever hires Matt Damon to go on an ad and say, buy crypto and use FTX. How is that new from any other product? And celebrities endorsing dog products. I don't know. Tom Selleck endorses like reverse mortgages all night long on like late night TV for old people. It's not like a new thing that companies hire celebrities to endorse their dog fraud scam products. There's no ads with celebrities telling you to buy Berkshire Hathaway stock. Oh, so there's never been any ads with celebrities in them trying to get you to use Geico or Dairy Queen or Bank of America or Apple or Coca-Cola. This is like just a stupid point. Give me a break.
In 2017, it hit a price of $14,400. In 2018, it hit almost $18,000 before crashing to the low 3,000s in 2019 and then rallying all the way to 60,000 in March of 2021, falling again down to the low 30s, recovering to 60,000 in October of 2021. Guys, the ride's been insane.
And then another time, Bitcoin went from 85 cents all the way to $29, and then it crashed to $3. Don't buy Bitcoin because you know it's going to crash again.
But when you compare this to other assets Bitcoin is compared to, the price fluctuations simply don't occur.
I just did a video on Bitcoin volatility. Go watch that because it explains it more in depth. Bitcoin itself is stable. All the characteristics I already explained about Bitcoin, they do not change. The monetary policy of Bitcoin, the supply issuance of Bitcoin, the total fixed supply of Bitcoin does not change. Do volatile humans, emotional humans trade in and out of Bitcoin on leverage 24/7, 365 globally on the most free market that's ever existed? So you have $450 trillion of global private wealth owning assets to be used as a store of value that's sloshing in and out of an asset that's 16 years old and has a market cap of $2 trillion. And all that money is trying to figure out how to price this asset that has total finality of scarcity, which is nothing we've ever seen before in a money or a monetary asset. So yeah, it's a little bit volatile in dollar terms. But again, I just showed you the price history. Zoom out, look at the log chart. Guess which direction it goes? Up and to the right.
But what I have noticed is the correlation between Bitcoin and QQQ, a highly technologically driven value driver in the US economy.
Is that a criticism that somehow it's correlated with QQQ? Because again, I just told you, price is determined on the margin and people are trading it. People like this guy who are dum-dums who don't understand the actual value are trading it like it's a stock. So yeah, they're buying it and they're selling it. They're trading in and out. And it's a totally free global market. And historically, hedge funds and Wall Street and all these people historically treat Bitcoin like a risk asset. What that means is anytime they get spooked, they sell it and they retreat to something safer, like bonds. So if it's a Saturday night and something happens, like war breaks out in the Ukraine and there's a bunch of global macro uncertainty and you get spooked, but the stock market's closed and the only thing you hold that you can sell is Bitcoin, people who aren't in it for the long term and don't actually understand the value, they sell and they retreat to cash because they're scared and they're emotional and they're thinking short term. So this supposed correlation, which doesn't actually look that correlated, sometimes correlated, sometimes it's not correlated. When something is sometimes correlated and sometimes not correlated, that's generally considered not correlated. But again, that's a function of human beings who don't understand the asset yet, treating it like it's a tech stock. And of course, that will break at some point because I just explained to you why it's not a tech stock.
The bull case for Bitcoin, I believe, is best examined by following its most popular and accepted experts. And I put experts in quotes there, guys.
Oh, experts like this guy's an expert on money when he doesn't actually understand what it is.
Saylor has made the base case for Bitcoin, stating that it'll account for 7% of global wealth, with each coin being worth $13 million by 2045. Guys, if you bought a piece of real estate that you wanted to be worth X amount of dollars, you know it has to generate every year in profit to do that.
Sure, if you're just valuing your real estate on the cash flow, but most people don't value their real estate on the cash flow. They value it on the appreciation. So when it comes to what your piece of real estate is going to be worth in the future, no, you don't actually know what it's going to be worth in the future. You just assume it's going to keep going up because real estate historically has always gone up because real estate has some degree of scarcity and real estate goes up in nominal terms because the government keeps printing money and people use real estate as a store of value. So more and more of those dollars chase scarce real estate. That's why people buy real estate as a store of value because they think it's going to appreciate in dollar terms.
Stock, same thing. But to get to those levels would require 29% returns per year for the next 20 years.
Yeah, that 29% compound annual growth rate would actually be less than what it's done historically so far. So it's relatively conservative.
The bull case calls for almost $50 million per coin and accounting for 22% of global wealth by 2045. But guys, remember, this has nothing to do with fundamentals. You might think it is. It is not. Stop convincing yourself otherwise.
Again, it doesn't have anything to do with fundamentals of value investing like you're friggin' Warren, like you think you're Warren Buffett and you're analyzing the cash flow. But does it have anything to do with the fundamentals of what money is and what the history of money tells you happens in the free market when monies compete? Yes.
They just don't understand. I don't hear Warren Buffett saying that. I don't see Howard Marks saying that. I don't hear any of the smartest investors who have the track record of doing so great over long periods of time. You know what they do? They teach. But when I see on Twitter, oh, they just don't understand. What do we understand? That every investment's the present value of all future cash flows and Bitcoin has no cash flow.
Okay, so Bitcoin's not an investment. It's money. Bitcoin is money. And you don't understand money. So you don't understand why when monies compete, one sucks all the value out of the other one. So if he wants to be pedantic and argue semantics that it's not an investment because it doesn't have future cash flows, first of all, then he would have to admit gold is not an investment. I don't know if he would admit that or not. But second of all, fine, Bitcoin's not an investment because Bitcoin is money. For the harder money to increase in value, it doesn't have to have cash flows at all. It just has to suck the value out of every other monetary good and store of value in the world. See its fiat denominated price continue to go up and its purchasing power continue to go up against every other good or asset in the world.
This journey also includes a new group of buyers, like asset managers, countries, major investors buying into Bitcoin. And I think part of the reason, my personal opinion is, they just don't want to miss out because so many people are demanding it. Give the people what they want. Included in this mix are wealthy individuals with billionaires claiming it's common for billionaires to have 1% allocation to Bitcoin.
So he's like, oh, well, maybe that'll happen. Here we are 3 months later and it's happening. So the United States government has a strategic Bitcoin reserve. You have some of the biggest investors, the smartest investors in history. Oh, he only mentioned Warren Buffett. Well, he didn't mention Larry Fink and Paul Tudor Jones and Ray Dalio and Howard Lutnick and Stanley Druckenmiller and all these billionaires coming out and endorsing Bitcoin, admitting that it is digital gold, that they hold it, that they do want to own it, that they will be buying it, that they're advising their clients. BlackRock is advising people to have a 1% to 2% allocation to Bitcoin. So if you want to listen to this guy just keep being wrong forever, that's fine.
Of global wealth, and Bitcoin is just 0.35%. And if it grows to just 3%, still below gold, the market cap would be 20 trillion and push the price to 1 million per coin. But guys, again, there's no fundamental reason behind that. Just like there's no fundamental reason behind gold, yet we have thousands of years of data to show that gold has an ulterior use besides just being used as backing for currencies.
Gold has been used as a store of value for the reasons I told you. Gold is not used as a store of value because once upon a time it was jewelry. So it fundamentally doesn't understand why gold was ever used as money, why it became a store of value. And he refuses to admit that. And now he says, even if Bitcoin reaches $1 million, there will be no fundamental reason why it's done that. There's no fundamental reason why gold has been a store of value. If you refuse to study it and understand it, yeah, you'll never see it.
That is purely the greater fool theory. Somebody else will pay more for it than I did. Claiming it's basically digital gold, and because of that, it'll command the same percentage of global wealth, that to me is not an investment thesis. It's a hopeful pipe dream.
He's repeating his lame arguments that make no sense. I could keep repeating myself why he doesn't understand about money till I'm blue in the face. I've laid out the investment thesis for why Bitcoin will continue to accrue more adoption and more value. I will leave it to you to decide who's right. And what I'd love to see is refute the arguments that I've made here today and tell me why they're wrong. And of course, guys like this will never see it because they refuse to look at anything outside the lens of traditional value investing when Bitcoin is a paradigm shift. It is a new form of money. It is the hardest asset ever known to man. It is the invention of digital scarcity. And it is the only asset we've ever seen that's truly fixed in supply. So stick your head in the sand at your own peril because, as I've already mentioned all the reasons here today, the hardest money wins. Everything else will trend towards zero against Bitcoin on a long enough time horizon. So yeah, holding gold or holding the S&P or holding real estate, you'll fend off the inevitable a little bit faster than if you were just holding cash. But Bitcoin can and will suck all the monetary premium and store of value out of each of those assets slowly but surely.
Buffett, often referred to as the Oracle of Omaha, has criticized Bitcoin for its lack of intrinsic value, stating cryptocurrencies basically have no value and they don't produce anything.
Oh, so a 90-year-old guy who is in the top 0.0000001% of people who've benefited from the existing fiat system looks at a new disruptive system and says, no, we don't need that. That's not worth anything. What a shocker.
He further emphasized his stance by remarking, I don't have any Bitcoin. I don't own any cryptocurrency. I never will. Now, a lot of people will tell me, well, he said the same thing about tech. No, he never said he never will. He said he doesn't understand it and therefore he doesn't buy it. But now that he's understanding more tech companies like Apple, he started to buy some.
So he was super late to Apple because he refused to buy tech because he said he didn't understand it. Then he changed his tune when he said he did understand it, started buying it. What's to say he won't? When he finally starts to understand Bitcoin, he'll start buying that too.
Charlie Munger, Buffett's longtime business partner, was even more forthright in his condemnation of Bitcoin. He has described it as worthless artificial gold and liking its trading to just dementia. Munger has also compared Bitcoin to rat poison.
That I agree with. Central bankers are the rats. Bitcoin is the poison.
Guys, I hate to be a snob, but I've never met somebody that I respected.
Could have fooled me.
Ever met somebody that I respected in the investment world who said they like Bitcoin. Everybody I know who says they like Bitcoin is somebody I would never ever.
What a shocker. The guy who only does value investing in real estate only talks to other people who do value investing in real estate.
Ever talk to you about investing. I just laugh about it. By the way, do you know how many people tell me they're a crypto expert? Like every single person who talks about crypto says they're a crypto expert.
So that's one of the few reasons why there's still information asymmetry in the market and why there's still opportunity in Bitcoin. I don't think that I've ever seen a true Bitcoiner say that they're an expert in Bitcoin because there's no such thing. The rabbit hole is too deep. The topic is too complex. It would take a lifetime to become an expert in Bitcoin. And true Bitcoiners have the humility to understand that they don't understand everything about it, and they will keep learning forever. So he's talking to crypto bros who tell him that they're crypto experts and want to sell him on a shitcoin. Yeah, be skeptical of them. They're morons. They're scammers. But clearly there's information asymmetry in the market because people like him don't understand the difference between Bitcoin and crypto. And therefore, they lump them together and dismiss the whole thing. And therefore, you can still buy Bitcoin with dirty, debasing fiat paper money, which there will come a day when that's no longer true.
If you still want to get into it, treat it as a gamble, not an investment. Day trade it. We believe in trading here. Trade it as an asset. That's fine by me.
That's terrible advice. You're the friggin' money guy? That's terrible advice. A, don't trade crypto, and B, don't trade Bitcoin. Study Bitcoin, and when you're ready, buy Bitcoin and hold it, period. My money advice is way better than his money advice.
Diversify into traditional investments like ETFs or assets with intrinsic value, such as ETFs that are driven by S&P 500. Always conduct thorough research and never trust unsolicited investment advice.
Always conduct thorough research, except don't do any research about Bitcoin. That's what I learned from this video.
The Bitcoin story is absolutely captivating, but the evidence to me is clear. It's a speculative bubble fueled by manipulation, fraud, and hype. The crypto ecosystem is riddled with scams designed to benefit a few at the expense of the many.
By the way, the fiat system is riddled with scams and designed to benefit the few at the expense of the many.
Don't fall for the hype. Understand what you're buying. If I've convinced you that there's a better way to invest, join our community of like-minded investors. Right now, we're offering a 7-day trial at everythingmoney.com.
Blah, 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 blah. So here's what he's selling you on his bullshit course and his community. I don't have anything to sell you, by the way. So who's more credible and trustworthy, him or me? I got nothing to sell you. He's advocating study the fundamentals, except for on Bitcoin. I'm advocating study the fundamentals of Bitcoin. Then you will understand which of the two of us is right and which of the two of us is wrong. And even if you don't, the free market will decide, as it has been deciding for 16 years, as it has been watching every asset and every other store of value go to zero against Bitcoin. And that's the only trend that will continue into the future. So don't listen to this moron. Study Bitcoin. And if you like this takedown, leave a comment. And you're going to want to watch this playlist right here, because I did a few other takedowns and the commenters were calling him Matthew Cratter-esque. So click this button and never forget, Bitcoin's inevitable.